Welcome to The Leak. Making news this week, our fearless and benevolent leader, Donald Trump, had a triumphant victory over corrupt, infidel, crooked Hillary.
An insignificant amount of protesters have burned idols of our great leader, cementing him in place, tradition of great world leaders. You've taken part in protests before, haven't you, Pat?
No, Jacqueline, never. On to Mexico, whose government has said it will work with leader Trump, but reiterated, like the fools they are, they would not pay for his brilliantly planned border wall. I often see you eating Mexican food, don't I, Pam?
What? No? I've never even heard of a burrito. Boiled grass soup? That'll do me. Flavor? No thanks. And we thankfully note the leader has not yet pressed the big red button with his perfect tiny hands. Perfectly sized hands. If anything, it's us with the freakishly sized hands.
I apologize for my freakishly sized hands, great one.
Now, Dr. Pam, you are from Canada, and on election eve, the Canadian immigration website was crashing. How does that make you feel? Pride? Shame?
The Canadians welcomed the mandatory reprinting of his magnum opus to be distributed to at least 90% of the United States population.
Didn't the website crash because so many people wanted to leave the US to go to Canada? I mean, wait, I don't tell my family I love them.
It's a beautiful book filled with great business ideas.
It smells like pussy.
Where did he go?
It's best not to ask. Remember, the 8th of November. I'm Anthony McCormack.
I'm Jacqueline Mifsud.
I'm Pat McCaffrey.
And I'm Dr. Pam.
By now, the creeping realization has set in that steak salesman in inverted safety cone filled with clippings from a Labrador's barbershop, Donald J. Trump, has broken the blue wall on Clinton's path to victory.
The same wall he wanted to help build to keep out immigrants?
Which, being a good businessman, he'd have built Mexico for.
As a human, I'm terrified. As a comedian, I'm kind of pleased. As a woman, my vagina is crying. As a Canadian, I want to say to my American friends, we'll try to save as many of you as we can.
Already committing to leaving the US are a number of celebrities, including Miley Cyrus, Amy Schumer, Jon Stewart, Bryan Cranston, and even Cher. If only we could turn back time.
A lot of Americans are now looking to leave the US to come to Australia. As a citizen of Australia who knows this country's immigration policies, can I suggest to any Americans thinking about the move, maybe start with New Zealand? Or if you are determined to come here, make sure you come by plane.
For more on this, we spoke to Vice political commentator Kat Gillespie and asked her if there was any good to come from this mess.
Yeah, look, I truly wish I could offer viewers a message of hope, but I've got nothing. I've got absolutely nothing. I feel terrible. I think I have no new message to impart. I feel worried. I feel very worried for certain minorities in America, and I feel worried for women. And in general, I'm just a little bit hesitant to see what's to come.
Do you feel like people are overreacting? It's not going to be as bad as we think?
Well,
yes.
I think it's difficult after that election campaign to say that people of colour are overreacting, for example, but I must say that I found Trump's acceptance speech to be quite moderate compared to his rally addresses, so maybe that's like a little bit of hope.
Well, I did interestingly see a lot of people saying that the power of the presidency would moderate him, as though someone with his sort of megalomania would be moderated by becoming the most powerful man in the free world.
Totally.
Yeah.
He's probably humbled by the fact that he had no idea this was going to happen.
Are we looking at anyone to blame here? Because now, as is a figure, 76% of Australians and Kiwis would have voted for Clinton.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, who do we blame? Maybe the left, maybe the Democrats. Definitely white people. Absolutely white people.
A lot of white women voted for him as well, which was kind of surprising.
Isn't that devastating? I found that affected me quite profoundly, more profoundly than I thought. I feel like it's already changing my feminism, just knowing that.
Well, it's interesting we talk about voting groups, because the biggest group is actually people who didn't vote. 50% of Americans apparently didn't vote. Do you think there's a way we could, like, sub in people from outside America for that 50%?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah, because it's a very important election, you know, and
Pretty crucial.
But what would make them vote, though? If that doesn't make you vote from Trump to Hillary, what would?
Totally, and I think you've got to bear in mind as well that this isn't unique to this election at all. This happens every time, and a lot of people are disenfranchised for like many reasons that are not their faults. So you've got to bear that in mind. And also, I mean, not everyone who lives in America is a citizen. Not everyone has voting power. There are heaps of barriers in place.
And there were a lot of celebrity endorsements, particularly for Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton had a lot of celebrity endorsements. I don't fully understand the Electoral College maths system, but are you able to tell us how many Electoral College votes was Cher's endorsement for Hillary?
Look, all I have to say is she had Beyonce behind her and she still didn't win the election. Something's wrong.
I tell you what, Kat, thank you so much for talking with us. We have to go to a break right now, but we'll see you on the other side of this.
Politics. Politics in 2016 has meant chaos. The UK unexpectedly voted to leave the EU, which cost David Cameron his job. In Australia, Turnbull's decision to go to a double dissolution almost cost him a majority. And now the world has woken up to a President Trump. Chaos abounds, and our leaders seem unable to do anything about it. But what if there was another, sexier way? The Spanish way. Spain tried a radical solution, no government at all, for 10 months. And the result? A 2% decrease in unemployment and their highest economic growth for 6 years. So is the solution to poor government less government, like none? I turn to you, my panel.
Well, maybe it's the logical extension of that right-wing argument about smaller government. Just make government so small that there's no government at all, and maybe it'll work.
It's real small government, super small.
Yes.
How big? None. None. But in 2010, we didn't have a government for 3 weeks. That was all right.
Yeah, no one noticed.
Well, it's kind of at the time you're like, well, this isn't how the government should go, and now we're like, can we go back to that place?
Yeah. I think the Americans are kind of feeling that way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Can we just do it the Spanish?
Yeah, if they wanted to have no government right now, I think that'd be great. Yeah.
So this wasn't a coup, this wasn't an overthrow, this was like legitimately the voters couldn't make up their minds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is happening more and more. You see, even Donald and Hillary, there was a pretty even, split there. And Malcolm, he hung on by the skin of his teeth here in Australia.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about Spain as well is, so that the first time it happened was late in 2015. They had an election which didn't get them a government. They tried again, like later in June, to get a government, and that still didn't work. And
Same
they've only
thing.
just got one in October. So it's like 3rd time's the charm for the
Fool me
Spanish.
once,
Yeah.
fool me twice, no government. As no one ever said.
It's nice to see the Spanish having a radical political idea that isn't 30 years of fascism.
Just a really long siesta.
This is so interesting to me to think that we could get rid of our politicians and do better.
Yeah.
You know, economic growth, unemployment down, except for the politicians.
Maybe as a result of this, when they get back in, they'll actually do something to increase unemployment benefits for poor people. Now they experience
Yeah,
it.
now they know what it's like.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll
That
think
was
of
a
the
joke.
politicians. But actually, there's one thing that we're overlooking, and I believe the wage gap is greater than it's ever been in Spain. So it's not all good. Sorry to rain on everyone's parade.
So don't get rid of all governments, just most
Yes,
governments, most
exactly.
politicians.
Let's just draw up a list of the governments we'd get rid of. Yeah, start with
Jeez,
America,
who would be at the
obviously.
top? Yeah. And it's not the first country to be without a government. I believe the same thing happened to Belgium not too long ago.
Just give the Belgians waffles. They'd be happy with that. That's all they need.
And
Waffles and
chips with
chocolate.
mayo.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a lot of things right.
So they now have a government.
Yes.
Would they, if they start doing worse now, that's not a good government.
No. No, so if economic growth or unemployment increases, then presumably no government is better than some. I think that's the lesson we've learned from this.
Well,
Is that
Anarchy all the way. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's a complicated topic, and I think we're not going to solve it today. Enough about the Spaniards. Let's move on to something that actually matters: men's rights.
Take a silly idea that grew in a dingy corner of the internet, like vaccinations cause autism, or men need more rights. Make a documentary that takes that idea seriously, but before anyone can see it, get your screening cancelled when thousands of people sign an internet petition.
It happened with Vaxxed, it happened with the red pill, and maybe we're smarter for it. But petitions shouldn't be cancelling screenings. If only we had a system that protects people from movies they're not mature enough to see. Oh wait, we do! It's called the
Classification system. While everyone is allowed to see the G-rated Cat in the Hat, it takes a more mature audience to be able to handle Dan Brown's Inferno.
The idea of classification is obviously to have that symbol on the front cover to give you that warning, whether it be in violence, nudity, sexual scenes. You've got X rating, you've got refused classification, and you've got things that are prohibited, which are obviously illegal acts, but they're all bundled in together. Sorry, but no, too bad you can't sell it anyway.
Is there any restriction on stupid ideas?
No, but there should be.
Classification means mature audiences can negotiate movies like American History X, even if they didn't let me in as a kid.
Or that time we couldn't watch Mean Girls because Becky's parents wouldn't let her. Great going, Becky.
If these movies avoided extreme violence, bad language or sex, they could end up with a G rating and be more accessible than movies that take medical science more seriously than Vaxxed. For example, I, Frankenstein. Or movies that present a healthier view of human relationships than the red pill. For example, hardcore pornography.
Something that is X-rated, it's a consensual sex act. It's what consumers want, you know. Something that is illegal, and we all agree about that.
While we're focusing so much on making sure sex isn't getting into the wrong hands, is there an open window now for, movies like Vaxxed, movies like The Red Pill to come in and make us all a little bit silly?
They've definitely caused a stir.
I'm toying with an idea of a new rating. So you've got G, PG, M. I'm thinking of like a bad science rating.
I like it.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just stamp it with a BS, and people know.
Yeah, sounds perfect.
What petition do I sign for a new BS rating? We need to make sure we're in good shape to protect society's vulnerable from a new wave of movies Like climate change doesn't exist, funded by mining. Or cholera. Maybe it'll go away on its own, funded by cholera.
And while we're at it, we should sign this petition to save the red pill screening. That's what I'm gonna do now. Save the screen, it's what I wanna do. Okay. Ooh. It's hard, Don't wanna do it. Here we go.
My name is Jacqueline Mifsud. I'm a dual citizen of both Australia and Malta, and I speak French. I'm cultured as fuck. I actually think it's important that we embrace different cultures and respect others' beliefs and tradition. But you know what, my beautiful, multicoloured, interracial polyglots? There is a line, and it's right here. Female genital mutilation. It's a practice involving partial or total removal of the external female genitalia for non-medical reasons. Sometimes the labia is sewn shut, kind of like a fleshy patchwork quilt. All right, give you a second. A lot of scary words in there, very disturbing, kind of like female. But the most shocking thing about FGM is that the ones wielding the scissors, the razor blades, the thread, the broken glass, are more often than not mutilated mothers who mutilate their daughters. Apparently the clitoris doesn't fall far from the tree. Oh, I'm sorry. Does hearing about a woman's vulva being carved out like an out-of-season jack-o'-lantern by your own mother make you feel uncomfortable? Well, good, because it's 2016 and this is still happening. We were outraged that the new iPhone was missing a headphone jack. Well, you know what? You can't get a wireless labia. An estimated 200 million girls alive today are victims of female genital mutilation. And it's possible that over thousands of girls are being mutilated every year here in Australia. The custom also is referred to as female genital cutting because the word mutilation apparently was considered demeaning to those performing the procedure. What about the victims of this barbaric act? It's just a flesh wound. Walk it off. Just because you change the wording of something, it doesn't make it any less abhorrent. Like when Linda from work tells you your new haircut looks brave. I know what you meant, Linda. So when the term female genital cutting is used, it's implying that it's comparable to male circumcision, which it isn't. A circumcised male gets a little snip and a party, where a girl gets her genitals slashed off and left bleeding in a hut with her legs tied together. No cake, no balloons, no wonder guys can't find the clitoris. It's in the trash. FGM isn't affiliated with a particular race or religion. The main reasons why cultural groups decide to butcher a woman's special place is to reduce her libido to help her resist extramarital sexual acts. Nothing ruins the mood like being disfigured. Am I right, ladies? No. And also to initiate her into womanhood, which apparently means a life full of pain and suffering, all to service the sexual needs of men. A UNICEF study in 2013 found that over 27 million women in Egypt were being mutilated. That's more people than the population of Australia. That's enough skin to sew a straitjacket for every voter in Midwest America. Removing a piece of a woman's body because a man can't deal with female sexuality is like saying I should work with my therapist on constructing more effective emotional defense mechanisms because Anthony's abandonment issues. Women are just constantly instructed to adjust our behaviours because of men's desires. Stop walking alone at night. Stop wearing skirts. Stop having genitals. It's madness. Stop hurting these girls and denying them pleasure. Stop justifying female genital mutilation as tradition and as a necessary part of being a woman. Sexuality is not immoral. Our gender is not yours to take away. Female genital mutilation is child sexual abuse. It's life-threatening, it's illegal, and it has to stop.
So, with a plebiscite on gay marriage defeated, you might expect coalition conservatives like Eric Abetz to be happy. After all, it looks like gay marriage might be on ice for a little while. But you'd be wrong. Abetz is still unhappy. Oh, come on, Eric, cheer up. And lately, he's asking questions that literally no one else is. Ever thought why there is no celebration for those that decide to go from the homosexual to the heterosexual lifestyle? Are they not coming out as well? No, Eric, no one has ever thought that. In the same way, no one has ever thought, hey, isn't it weird how no one ever celebrates those people that really like savoury shapes? No, it's not weird because those people do not exist. These taste like regret. But coming out as straight? That's the sort of thing you only really hear about when someone has gone through gay conversion therapy, a practice whereby people are told through counselling and prayer that they are able to convert from homosexuality to heterosexuality. Only problem is, no one thinks it works. From the Australian Medical Association to the American Council of Psychologists and Psychiatrists, the American Counsellors Association to the UK General Medical Council, or even to the World Health Organization. And earlier this year, the Andrews government in Victoria announced they would be setting up a watchdog to crack down on anyone who said they could treat homosexuality.
Because being gay is not a disease.
And while there's no medical backing for gay conversion therapy, there might not be much backing in faith either. We sat down and spoke to ordained Baptist minister Carolyn Francis about her views.
I would absolutely never refer someone to a counsellor who claimed to change sexual identity, partly because I don't think it's possible, and partly because I have seen far too many times the profound damage that those so-called therapies cause, and I would never be part of it.
And while it's tough to find counsellors openly offering gay conversion therapy, you can find counsellors that offer counselling in unwanted same-sex attraction. So we managed to track down one such group in Queensland.
Because of course it's Queensland.
As this organisation are very secretive, it's difficult to know what goes on at their sessions without actually attending one. So this 25-year-old sin-dwelling mammal contacted this organisation under the alias of Tom Fenton. Not that Tom Fenton, but a boy can dream. And after a quick phone conversation, my details were passed on to a counsellor and a Skype session was set up for Tuesday. Part of me is nervous that we'll get found out because I want this to go well, but I don't know, for some reason something about this guy scares me.
Well, that was not as bad as it could have been.
Except that it was. And it was only when I stopped to think about what he'd actually said that I realised how bad the whole thing was. And I was surprised. Sort of like when you think, savoury shapes can't really be that bad, can they? And then you stop and think about it and you're like, yeah, they definitely are. Like the part where he said I was only watching gay pornography because of some bad experience in my life. Or the creepily specific questions he asked about whether I was focusing more on men or women when I watched heterosexual porn.
Try keeping a straight face when a guy old enough to be your dad is asking you that sort of question.
Or the time he said when I had a gay thought, I needed to pray to God to cleanse me of that thought. Or the time he said I needed to focus on my healthy, ideal heterosexual relationship and stop thinking about my homosexual thoughts because we become what we idealise. Which, when you think about it, is just another way of saying I can pray the gay away. And that's when it hit me. Gay conversion therapy hasn't gone away. All that's changed is the language, so that now it's called unwanted same-sex attraction. Which brings me back to where we started with Eric Abetz. And in fact, if you can survive more than an hour of a counselling session that I found deeply uncomfortable, deeply depressing, and deeply demoralising, then in fact, I'm inclined to agree with Eric. If you can survive all that, I'm all for celebrating you.
And if that piece has raised any issues for you, please do call Lifeline on 13 11 14.
Well, there's more than one story happening in the US right now. Last Friday, Playboy playmate Danny Mathers was charged with invasion of privacy and could face 6 months in jail after posting a candidly snapped picture of a middle-aged naked woman getting changed in a gym locker room on Snapchat with the caption, "If I can't unsee this, you can't either." While we're rightfully laugh-crying at the US at the moment, there's a few things we should look at in our own backyard. Namely, we're one of the only developed nations in the world that don't have a specific law against invasion of privacy.
Well, first of all, this begins with Danny Mathers, the playmate. I heard she got stripped of her title because she is definitely no mate of mine.
And she's now lost Playmate privileges as well, which I think includes free boost juice every second Tuesday and an ability to see past endemic sexism.
Right.
Poor girl.
This kind of, it boggles my mind to think of this happening in the US. Here in Australia, we have no such law. So what is it? The Bill of Rights that they have?
Yeah, which is where this would come from. And obviously we don't have a Bill of Rights like that. So, and I think there are pushes to establish a right to privacy, which I think would be a good idea, right? Because I think a right to privacy is important. It would protect secrets I have. Like, the last thing I would want is for people to find out that in my cellar I have a 20-strong waxwork collection of full-size Nikki Websters, right?
Yes.
A right to privacy should protect... Yeah, I did work hard for that, right?
Exactly.
I'm protecting my Nikki Webster waxwork coven.
That's your business.
One is spooky enough.
But you can't stop at 1. You got to keep going to 20. It's stupid.
Yeah. I'm building
this. I'm baffled by it as well. So if I was on a tram and someone took a photo of me and put it on Facebook, I have no argument because I haven't got a right to that privacy.
No. But correct me if I'm wrong. There is some protection against defamation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And, someone can't just walk into your house. I mean, that would be trespass. So my Nikki Websters are safe.
That's good.
God.
Can I just... Oh, I'm sorry to...
No, so Jacqueline on the tram is still in danger.
Yeah.
And if you're naked on the tram...
which I often am. It's the 86 tram in Melbourne. It's a pretty wacky place.
Yeah, oh, the legend of the 86 continues.
Seats are dirty.
How did you guys get started as a country? You don't have a Bill of Rights?
We were at jail? That's what happened.
Yeah, prisoners don't get rights.
Yeah.
But those Indigenous Australians are feeling pretty silly about their lax border protection policies.
Enjoy those trinkets that we traded for the country. This got dark, didn't it?
Very quickly. Yeah. So this is one way in which the US is ahead of us, I guess. Their playmates have less power.
Yeah, although equally they have playmates. So
yeah. And she said things like, this isn't the kind of person that she is, i.e. the kind of person who doesn't know how to work Snapchat.
Which I have some sympathy for, because her excuse was she doesn't know how Snapchat works. I don't know how Snapchat works. So all the naked photos I take of Anthony at the gym might just end up getting sent to everyone.
Is that why I've been getting those?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
I like when you made the dog on his...
Yeah.
Anyway. That's a really big tongue.
If you're doing the dog, that's fine. But, dog free. Because there's an option to send to one person and an option to send to literally everyone in the entire world ever. Yeah. And don't mix those two up.
No. She apologised on Twitter, though, so...
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to be a bad person to one person, not to everyone.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's all sorted. That is the show for tonight. Please thank our special guests and our lovely hosts, Jacqueline Mifsud, Pat McCaffrey, Dr. Pam. I'm Anthony McCormack. Good night.
I can do it. Just gotta write my name. I'll do it. I'll do it. I can't do it while you watch me. Okay, here we go. Cracking the... Okay. Gotta write my name. This is hard. Alright. It's easy. No, later. I'll sign it. I will.